Husband and wife keep the same surprising secret from each other for years. It's easy to assume that a married couple is living in bliss, especially when they're living in a house with a white picket fence. Unfortunately, some couples have huge secrets that tend to fester until they start to smell like old fish. Then the truth comes out, which is exactly what happened to Chris Tringali Nunez and her husband, Joe. Yes, it's true. Every marriage has its dirty little secrets, and couples do their very best to keep those nosy neighbors out of the loop to avoid judgment. But secrets have a way of resurfacing no matter how hard one tries to keep them buried, and that's exactly what happened to Chris and Joe. Chris and her husband Joe had been together for 7 years and got married 2 years after they met. Aside from having a comfortable house, they had a child who came into the world 2 months after they tied the knot. But this was not the last child they were meant to have. 2 years after their first child was born, Chris gave birth to her second child. "I was really happy," Chris told Oprah on our talk show. "Joe always made me feel absolutely loved, and we absolutely trusted each other." But Chris was hiding a secret. Chris did everything most people came to expect from a wife. She cooked, she cleaned, she was very supportive of Joe, and she was a great mom to their 2 children, too. And yet, something about this picture-perfect life didn't seem right to her. For 5 years, Chris had remained happily married to Joe, and she planned on staying married to him for the rest of her life. But then, something clicked inside her head. It's like she had an epiphany and realized that this was not what she wanted. Chris felt different. In fact, she was different. "I had an oh no moment," she explained. She had tried to deny it to herself because she didn't want to hurt Joe, but she had been hiding her true identity and she couldn't do it anymore. Some people who have been married for a while tend to stray and look for someone outside the relationship to be with. But that wasn't the issue she was having. She thought she was physically attracted to her husband, but she wasn't. Most married couples will admit that they don't find the person they married as attractive as they used to when they first met, but that's pretty normal, especially in long-term relationships. However, her lack of interest in her husband wasn't personal. Chris realized why she didn't feel the same way she did for Joe, that she did when they first met. In fact, she wondered if she had ever had these feelings at all, or if she had been lying to herself, but she couldn't do it anymore. She was a lesbian, and in her heart, she always knew she was. When she was a little girl, Chris had crushes on other girls and even wrote love letters to them. And when she was 19, she dated a woman, but she assumed she was going through an experimental phase. But then, something happened to her that made her realize it wasn't. Chris came to the conclusion she was a lesbian when she had her 3rd child. "I got pregnant with a little girl, and something in me just wanted to be completely woman-identified," she shared. "I could not suppress that anymore. My whole world changed. It was like a light bulb clicked on, and as much as I tried to click off the light bulb, I couldn't get it to go off." Sadly, the baby girl was stillborn, and it completely destroyed them. "It was the worst thing to ever happen," she explained. "I thought perhaps I'm being punished because I'm internally betraying my husband and my family. That was the moment when I really knew I have to be an authentic person, and I have to tell the truth, as painful as it's going to be." Chris had suppressed her feelings for other women for years because she wanted to be the very model of the perfect American housewife. But she was done living a lie and decided to tell Joe the truth. Chris planned on telling Joe she was gay over a nice meal, but she got scared. Then another opportunity presented itself outside of a bookstore, and she took it. "I said, Joe, I think after lots of soul-searching and lots of reading and lots of praying, I do believe that I'm a lesbian," she explained. It was very painful to do. Joe wasn't angry. In fact, he was practically a prince about the whole thing, according to Chris. He says, "It's going to be okay. I love you. We'll get through it," she said. And I thought, I don't know if he heard me. They went from sleeping in the same bed to Chris sleeping in another room. Then her husband started to change. Joe went from very understanding to angry, as we do when we go through the feelings of grief, she explained. Despite their ups and downs, she and Joe were like best friends/roommates. But her decision to come out was never about disliking him physically. It was about my personal connection with another person, she said. When I thought about how I wanted to have an intimacy with another person, I knew it couldn't be with Joe anymore. Once they realized they had no future together, they filed for divorce. But while Joe recalls being stunned by his wife's initial confession of being lesbian, he was actually kind of surprised that she beat him to the punch. 4 years after the couple got divorced, Joe came out too. I came to the conclusion that I'm not going to be happy until I'm honest with myself, he explained. But was Kris surprised by her ex-husband's confession? Kris claimed that she had an inkling that her ex was gay too. I thought he'd come out first, she said. But it surprised Joe to hear her say that she knew, as he always felt he hid his orientation well. But what about their children? Their 2 sons were 5 and 3 when the couple divorced. But by the time their son Alex was a teen, he had to deal with a lot of bullying as a result of having 2 parents who were gay. But is he angry at his parents for their decision? Despite the fact that Alex has been called names and dealt with emotional abuse at school, he's very proud to call Kris and Joe his parents. I love them for coming out, he explained. They're not afraid to stand up to other people, and I'm just proud of them for coming out and living their own life. 8 years after she and Joe appeared on Oprah in 2006, Kris revealed that she was now the wife of a woman named Jackie. As for Joe, he's been dating a guy named Paul, who was also once married to a woman before realizing he was gay. But does it get confusing for Alex? As far as Alex is concerned, having 2 parents is great, but now he has 4 parents. I feel lucky because every day I have 4 loving parents to come home to, and they're just there for me, he shared. But why did his mom, Kris, go on the Oprah show? Kris had a motive for sharing her story on the popular talk show. She wanted to show the world that there was no difference between gay and straight parents. There are wonderful, fabulous families out there raising great kids like Alex. And some of us are gay and some of us aren't, she shared.